Hello everybody, this is Joe Workman, and in this video we're going to be going over the basics of using the Screen Stack suite. We're going to take a web page and build it from scratch using screen stacks. And we're going to go step by step and then keep on improving the page using just the screen stacks. So without further ado, let's jump in and see how awesome it is to build our web pages using screens. So as I mentioned, we're going to start off with a completely blank project file, and we're going to build an entire screens web page right now. Now, actually, before we get started in throwing stacks on the pages, I want to make sure that we set the theme properly. And Screens works best with our free foundation theme. Now, you don't need the foundation stacks, but you at least need the foundation theme. It is available for a free download from our website. Now the next step is the first stack we want to add to a page is going to be the screen style stack. Now the screen style stack allows us to do some basic styles for our web page. A lot of times this is things that are handled in a theme, and such as page background, the fonts used for headers and texts, the font weight, the font colors, and font sizes. Now, next, what we're going to want to add to a page is the screens stack. Now, the screen stack is a general wrapper that will contain all of our screens pages and slides and other content. So it's basically like it's going to be a wrapper around our entire page. So next, we're going to want to add our first screens page. So I'm going to go ahead and add a screens page. Now I kind of have an outline of what I want this web page to be. We're going to create a simple like home page, a gallery, an about page, and probably a contact us page. So let's go ahead and start that. Now next what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure inside the screens page that we define the proper page title and page anchor. So for this, since this is our welcome page, let's go ahead and say welcome. And for our anchor link, we want that to be welcome as well. Now the anchor link is what is the anchor that's added to the URL for this particular screens page. Now we have a basic screens page, right? And what we're going to do is I'm going to replicate that a few times so that we have all of the pages that we want. So there we go. I've added a bunch of new screens pages to the project, and I've just added some basic content in there, right? And if we preview this page right now, we'll see that we actually have, all of our relative pages. And let's see what else we've done. So I've added each screens page, and then I've made sure that the screens page has its own unique page title as well as a unique anchor link. So the gallery has gallery and gallery anchor tag. About us has a page title of about, could be about us. And then about is the anchor link. And then the contact us page has contact us, and the anchor link is contact. So this works well, but it's rather boring right now because all the screens are white, right? So let's jazz it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each screens page, and I'm going to go ahead and add a background for it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do a simple color background. So I've gone ahead and added some nice colors to our background pages. And actually, I decided to jazz it up a little bit. Instead of using a solid color, actually, I went to a gradient background and did a gradient theme of simple one color. And what that does is it's a nice option, and it takes color number one, it ignores your color number two and your gradients. And based on that one color, it creates a nice, very simple, flat looking gradient. So that when we preview this, we'll see that, the page is very close to a solid color, but it's just a faint gradient across the page, and it gives a very lovely design. So I really like that. Now, if we look at these pages, there's a couple things, right? We have black text, and that might not look the best when we have colored backgrounds. As well as our content is going straight to the sides, right? It's going edge to edge across the browser. And we might not want that, right? So let's fix those things. So for the color and size of our text, we can go ahead and let's go into screen styles. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make the header and fonts white, a little off-white. Let's do F1, right? And same thing for our text. We'll just do F1 as well. And then for our header size, let's make our headers a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead, and these were H3s that we're using. And for desktop, let's make it, go ahead and do like 2.5 rem. And then for mobile, maybe we'll do 2 rem. Okay. And then our text, we're fine with the text size. And let's preview that. And that looks a lot nicer, right? We have a little bit bigger headers. It's just starting to look a lot nicer, right? So let's deal with the edges here. So on the edges, basically we want to add padding to all of our pages. Now, you may want to go into each screen page and go ahead and add a custom padding for each one. However, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and go into the screens and add a unique or a global padding to all the pages. And I'm going to add, let's say 7%. Let's go ahead and have a look at that. And now that kind of, it brings all of our content in. And I think that's nice. That gives us kind of what we're looking for right now. Now, another thing I recommend is you actually go into your screen style stack and set the site background color to be the same color that your first screen's page is going to be. This way, when the page is starting to download, you'll get immediate feedback in terms of the body background color loading, split second before the screen's page loads. Now, the next thing we might want to do is let's go ahead and style our dots. So to style your navigation dots, go ahead and go into the main screens stack and go to the navigation dots settings section. And you'll see here that we can change the location of the dots, such as we want them on the right or the left, or we want to completely hide them. And then in terms of position, do we want them in the top, the center, or the bottom? Okay. And then offset is the amount of space that they're offset from the edge of the browser window. Now, you can also have position for the slide dots, which right now we don't have any slides. Next, if we wanted, maybe we want slide numbers, or we want to show tooltips in terms of showing the actual page names when we hover over the dots. Let's go and add tooltips. I like that idea. And then from icons, we can, customize in terms of what icons we want to show. We can show squares, circles, bullseyes, get cute with hearts and things of that nature. Let's stay simple. Let's just keep it with the circles. Or, we can also go custom advanced. And if you choose custom advanced, this, instead of using Font Awesome icons, what it will do is it will actually allow you to build your own dots using CSS. And, you can actually make them squares or dots. You can give them a border to make them look like, bullets and things of that nature. So there's a lot of advanced customizations here if you choose a custom icon. But for right now, we're just going to stick with circle O for our normal dots and then a solid circle for our active dots. Now, I wanted to change the color. I didn't really like the black look, right? So let's go ahead and change those to just simple white. And the opacity, 25% for regular and 75% for the active. I'm fine with that. Let's see how that looks. Right. I think that looks nice, right? You notice if we hover, we get our tooltips. Now the tooltips are a little light. We might want to tweak those a bit. Now the tooltips use the actual icon opacity. So let's just increase that a little bit. Maybe we'll just do 75% like we did for the active. And then let's change the text color to be Now if we hover over, we'll see that we have nicer tooltips. They're definitely readable when you hover over each page. And if you click on them, it'll take you directly to that particular page. Now next, I think what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of having a single gallery page, let's create multiple galleries. So maybe we turn this gallery page into a slide, so we can actually have slides of multiple different galleries. So to do that, I'm just going to simply go ahead and find the screen slide stack, and I'm going to add that inside the screens page. And for this first content, I'm going to go ahead and drag that into our screen slide. Now, to add multiple slides, basically it's just like any normal cycler stack or slider stack you'd have out there. You just add another screen slide into the screens page. So I'm just going to copy and paste this screen slide in here, and maybe we have, gallery 1, and let's just make this one gallery 2. So now I have my screens page, and I have 2 different slides. Let's go ahead and preview that. So here I have my welcome page, and if I scroll down, we'll notice that I have gallery 1 and gallery 2. Now in this instance, we'll notice that we do have slide arrows, but it's kind of going on top of our content. And we might not really want that. So let's tweak these slide arrows just a little bit. Now to tweak these slide arrows, we're going to go back into the screens stack. And what we're going to do is we can actually change all the way down to the bottom, customize our slide arrows. And what we can do is we can position them. Do we want to hide them? Do we want to have them on the top, on the center, or the bottom? And we can also do a custom position, which allows you to define X and Y positions. But let's say we want them on the bottom. And then let's change, while we're here, we're just going to go ahead and make them white, similar to our other navigation. And they were quite large. Let's go ahead and reduce those a little bit. And let's preview that. So you see here where I have different arrows. And if you notice, they're quite far inside. And the reason for that is because I've added padding to our page content here. So what can we do to have different sort of navigation? So let's say for this particular instance, slide arrows don't really work out. Now, if I wanted to, I could reduce the padding that we've added to all the screens pages, so that these slide arrows go ahead and go to the edge, and then I can add actual padding individually to each page to the way I see fit. But there's another option that we have available, and that's going to be to use the screens navigator stack. So what I'm going to do here is in the screens page, or in the screen stack, I'm going to go ahead and hide the default slide arrows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a screens navigator stack to this page. And what that gives us is it gives us a nice little navigation widget. Now the screens navigator can be a couple different things. First, it'd be by default, it's a group of buttons that allows you to navigate up, down, left, and right. Now you can also do a single button. So if you want to make sure that you only want to position a single button on your page, you can do that as well. For this instance, we're going to stick with a group of buttons. And what you can do is you can customize the actual position. By default, it's going to be at the bottom right-hand side of your page. And let's leave it there. Now we have a few different button styles. We have built-in arrows, and you can have custom drop-downs. Now when you choose custom drop-downs, you can actually define your own custom buttons for every single up, down, left, and right. For this instance, we're just going to stick with the built-in arrows. For button groups, we have a few different layouts, and one that I really particularly like is the D-pad. So let's stick with that, and you have various sizing controls here. I'm going to go ahead and play with a few settings. We're going to change our color to be white, and maybe make the opacity a little bit less. We're going to do like 20%. So it's just really vague, maybe 30%. And you can change all the sizes and the rounding of it if you wanted. to scale the buttons really large, okay, or you wanted to increase the round corners so that they were circles, okay. I quite like them like that. And let's preview the page. And we'll notice here that I have this D-pad, and it showed up on my preview page, and it knew intelligently that I can go up, down, or to the right. The left arrow is disabled because I'm already at slide 1, but I can go ahead and click next. And if you notice, the left arrow is now enabled because it knows I can actually go that direction. Okay, and then I can obviously go left or up and down. Okay. Now this is great if I wanted this on a single page, but what if I wanted to have this D-pad across all my pages? Well, the screen's navigator is intelligent. It knows that if you add it to a screen's page, it will only display itself on that page. However, if we actually take a screen's navigator and add it to the very top of the page outside of the screen stack, it will display on all pages. So now if we go here, we'll see that we actually have the ability to show the navigator across all of our pages. And as you notice, as we go ahead and navigate through our site, the arrows will enable and disable based on the direction that we're allowed to go. That's really great. Now, if we were to try a different layout such as T, we'll notice that this particular layout behaves a little bit differently. When we have just a screens page that doesn't have any possible slides, it only shows the up and down arrows. But when we go to a slides page, it actually shows our left and right arrows are available as well, to give us the users a hint that we can actually navigate in a different direction. I think this is exactly what I want for this particular design. Now, one thing that you noticed is that when I was on the gallery page and I navigated to gallery number 2, maybe I'd want to have a different color on this particular page. Well, that's pretty easy to do as well. If you'd like to have different colors across different slides, instead of setting the page background on the screen's page, you're going to set the background settings at the slide level. So here I've gone and added a specific gradient background to each screen slide. And we'll notice is if I navigate here, we've now gone into another problem where the padding that I've added to all my pages is now getting in our way. So maybe we need to rethink that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go back up to our screens page, and I'm going to change that padding and make it all the way down to 0. Then I'm going to go to each individual screens page and then go ahead and change those settings. Now for our slides, we don't want to add the padding to our screens page, but we want to add it to the screens slide. So in this instance, I want to make sure the slide is 7%, just like everything else. So now that I've added all the padding, if we navigate down, we'll see that we have our nice gallery 1. And if we scroll over, we see gallery 2 has a different color background. And we can still navigate down and see all of our other pages. So now I think our page needs a menu, right? We need a way of visualizing where we're at within the web page in terms of menus and giving our users a nice way of quickly going between pages. So I've added a screens menu stack to the page. And if we preview this really quick, we'll notice that it dynamically built out the menu based on our page names. Now, obviously, the colors don't mesh with the site, but it works out of the box and navigates individually to each of our screens pages. So the screens menu stack supports both desktop and mobile menu styles. And by default, it will go to full menu at tablet. And on mobile devices, it will turn into a mobile menu. You can customize all of that. Let's keep it at the default for now. Now, the menu type, we have types of horizontal, vertical, which gives us a vertical menu that could look nice along the side of our site. Or we also have simple links, which is just a simple list of links that really don't have any kind of blocky look to it. It's just a simple list of links to our individual pages. And lastly is an off-canvas drop zone, which we're not going to review in this, but take a look at our more advanced tutorials on how to use that. For this example, let's go ahead and stick with the horizontal menu. And let's go ahead and look at some of the style options here. So here we go. I've tweaked the styles just a little bit so that the menu looks nice. And if we preview it, we'll see that we have a nice menu. Looks pretty decent across all the pages, and it's fully functional. So our site's starting to look pretty nice. If we wanted to add a little bit of pizzazz to it, let's go ahead and animate some things in. Maybe the headers. So you can add the screens animate stack to anything you want. And basically let's add our headers into it. And basically what it will do is it will animate that particular element when the screens become active. So if we notice there, the welcome header kind of faded down when the screen was loaded. So let's go ahead and add that to all of our headers. So I've gone ahead and added that animate stack to all of our headers. And as you notice, as I'm scrolling through the site, all of the headers are animating down. Now, what you may have noticed is when I go back to a page that is already animated, that particular header isn't animating again. And the reason for that is that by default, the animate first time only is checked in the animation stack. If you'd like a particular component to animate every time a screen is become active, you can uncheck this box. Now, before we call our site done, let's go ahead and check it that it works nicely. We've kind of seen that it works nicely across desktop size browsers. But let's go ahead and shrink it down and look to see exactly what it might look like if we were on iPhone with. And we'll notice that our welcome screen kind of fits. It looks nicely. Now, the first thing we'll notice is actually that snap scrolling has been disabled. It's turned off. And that's by default. By default, on mobile devices, your screen site will turn into a normal scrolling website. And that's actually completely configurable. If we go into the screens stack, we'll notice that we have normal scroll on mobile only. And that's probably smart because most of the time, the content that we add to our pages may not really fit within a full screen on just an iPhone, right? So we want to allow our content to actually grow a little bit larger than what the phone or mobile screen allows us to see. And that's exactly what this normal scroll allows us to do. And you can increase that so it's also on tablet down, or you can choose a custom breakpoint for that. Now, if you know that your site is going to be have minimal content and you want that snap scrolling even on mobile, you can go ahead and say normal scroll never. Let's go ahead and leave it on mobile for now. Now, one thing if you noticed, this About Us page has a lot of text. And chances are this text isn't going to be great. It's not going to fit perfectly, maybe not even on a tablet, let alone a mobile device. Now, right now I'm using a default 2-column stack, and chances are you're really going to want to use a responsive layout tool here, such as maybe my foundation stacks or my responsive layout stacks. But Screens has a feature that we can add to a specific Screens page, and that's called auto scale. So on this page, on this About Us page, let's go ahead and turn on auto scale inside the Screens page. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to auto scale our content. And we can define a minimum and maximum font size for our particular text so that we can ensure that it looks great across all devices. So in this instance, I want to make sure our max font size doesn't grow above 16. Our header is pretty small in this instance, so I actually don't want to apply this auto scaling to the header. So I'm going to uncheck this. And the minimum font, let's do 8, just so we can see the effect here. So if we go ahead and preview this, and we look at the About page, Well, notice that as I shrink the browser down on the About page, you'll notice that the actual size of the text is changing dynamically so that it looks best within that browser width. This is pretty cool. Now, the auto scale is really awesome. However, it doesn't perform magic, right? It's not going to take 10 pages of content and shrink it down to fit and actually be legible for your users to consume. Now, another thing you're going to want to make sure is if you're using text stacks, you'll need to make sure that you select the text and properly format it as a paragraph. So in this instance, you select your text and you go up and say format this as a paragraph. This will ensure that the auto scale will actually properly scale that text down for you. So there we have it, a very basic screens web page that is fully functional. We've utilized all of the screen stacks, from our menu stacks to our animate stacks. We have slides, right? I mean, we're using every aspect of screens here. And you see how easy it is to build and how easy it is to use. And it really produces a pretty lovely, while the content here is obviously basic and very boilerplate, it's a very nice and attractive website. So as you see, it's very powerful and very simple to build nice web pages using screens. Now, obviously, we didn't go into every nook and cranny of every screen stack, right? So go ahead and make sure that you check out our next videos that we have that go a little bit more in depth into some maybe more the advanced features of screens, where we actually review how we built our demo web page, right? But I hope you learned a lot on how to use screens in this video and that you use this information to go build beautiful web pages. I can't wait to see what you do with screens and what websites you build with it. So make sure that you share those with us and have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Bye.